Hi, this is Ken from the staff of the Bryant Museum, and we got a special guest with us here today, Glenn Coffey. Glenn, how are you today?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Doing all right. We appreciate everybody following us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We'll have this up as part of our A-Day activities later this afternoon at 3 o'clock on Saturday. This on Saturday of A-Day, we'll be showing our documentary we did a few years ago on Coach Bryant called Mama Called. So check that out on Facebook as well. Glenn, we got some questions here that kind of be a mix of some that I've thought of and some of the fans on Facebook have given us before. And one of the ones is, how did you get to Alabama? So tell us about that first contact from the university.
My recruiter was Coach Bob Conley, offensive line coach. And, at first it came with letters. Just I forget what the letter said, but they were the non-handwritten letters at first, and then you start getting the handwritten letters, and then it goes from there. But I wasn't a 5-star recruit. I think people often feel like everybody who plays in college football was like some great, awesome high school player, and that wasn't necessarily the case for me. So I came out as a 3-star recruit. So I wouldn't say I was recruited heavily. So I don't know if that explains the question.
Because that's kind of what I'm talking about. When did you start playing football?
I lived in Saudi Arabia until I was about 10, and over there we couldn't play organized football. So as young as I can remember, we played football in the streets, mostly on grass, but sometimes we played in the street. And so when I moved to America at 10 years old is when I first started playing football with pads.
So obviously you were with a military family, so there was football was discussed, but it wasn't part of the culture where you were, I guess is how to put it.
No, not at all. Soccer was everything.
Did you play soccer?
I did. I was pretty good too. I was pretty good.
Yeah, soccer, I think, is one of those things, particularly for young kids, it's good to develop coordination skills and play a team. So it's a good place to start in sports.
For sure.
So do you remember your first touchdown when you started playing?
Yeah, I feel like I do. I want to say it was against, maybe Middle Tennessee State. I forget, though.
When we've talked to players through the years, and the way that fans remember the games, the way players remember the games, at least in my opinion, is different. As fans, we kind of think about what play is important, those kind of things. But when I talk to players, they're almost like that play's over. We've moved on to the next one. Tell us how do you remember, like, sometimes players say the only thing they remember is what they messed up. But
yeah,
how did I don't know if I asked that question very well, but is that how you remember the game, or do you remember those games as whole games, or one play stand out to you from your career, or how do you remember your time at Alabama?
To be honest, how do I say this? I always played scared. I didn't come up with a whole lot of confidence. Like I remember in middle school, I would look at like the cool kids and be like, how do you exude so much confidence? And just how are you so comfortable in your skin? I kind of grew up a loner. I could go on forever about that. But anyways, back to what I was originally saying, I was always scared to make a mistake. So when I look back on my career, I always think I should have played looser and not worried so much about making mistakes and just literally, people always say have fun. Coaches always say just, hey, bud, just go out there and have fun. I never understood what they were truly saying until now. I'm 33 years old. Now I kind of understand what they were saying. They were just saying play loose.
Well, I know you've got an opportunity today maybe to pass that on to players. Is that something you can talk about? You lived it. Now you can talk about it to others to try to help them with that situation?
Yeah, it's hard for me because I grew up a nerd. Like I didn't really I never really loved sports. I love competition. And so when I think about football sometimes, and I think about football camps and stuff like that, a lot of times the first thoughts that come to my head is, I hope they're not only worried about football. Like, I hope they're not all putting their eggs in that one basket like I did. So I have kind of this weird relationship about how people put athletes and celebrities, on kind of on a pedestal,
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good way. Um, Tell us about being given the opportunity to play in the NFL. What were your thoughts as it was coming up to that time, and then when you got a chance, what was going through your mind?
Uh, Kind of piggybacking off of what I said before, I grew up very indifferent about everything. And the NFL was no different. I remember the 49ers when they called me. I had rented out this little condo here in Fort Walton Beach, and I had some family and friends there. And I remember when the 49ers called me and they were like, "Hey, Glenn," and I was like, "Yeah," and it was like, "We're drafting you." I didn't know what to say, I didn't know if I should say like thank you or kind of like pretend like I was excited, but I just like didn't say anything. And he was like, "Did you hear me? You got drafted." And I was like, "Oh yeah, thank you." But for me, it was like, it was just, I don't know, kind of no different than any other day,
Um, and what was the main difference between college and the pro experience as a player?
Have you ever seen Any Given Sunday with Jamie
Mm-hmm.
Foxx?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Um, Obviously, because it's a movie, a lot of it is exaggerated. But whenever I talk to people, I say like that movie is kind of what people can create in the NFL, because you got money and you add fame. I'm not saying I was like famous or nothing like that, but like you add money and fame, and it's very hard to the temptation gets real. Like, it's already real as just living on this earth, but like the temptation gets crazy. And so you could almost create the world you want to live in the NFL. Whereas in college, you still struggling, you still grinding for that position. You still trying to remember the playbook and not, you still trying to go to class, and you still feel like in college, you still feel like a person. And I feel like in the NFL, you can kind of and usually in a bad way, in the evil way, I like to say, you can kind of create your own fantasy. And I think that was the biggest difference, was like, it wasn't even about the NFL. It was about the money and a little bit of fame. Like, yeah, that was wild to deal with,
That's an interesting story. Um, and one of the questions we got from the fans from our Facebook feed earlier, they wanted you to talk about the transition from the NFL to the military. What was behind that decision, and what led you to that?
Um, when I quit football, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And on one side of the token, you can say I kind of wasted the years after football. But then on another side of that same coin, on the other side, I can say that I learned so much about myself in that time. So I'm thankful for it. I'm thankful for what the Bible calls long suffering. But hold on, I'm trying to remember the question now. I get off on tangents.
Yeah, the transition
military.
from football to the military.
So the cool thing about the military, obviously, not everything is for everybody, but the cool thing about the military was that you when you look back in your life and you think about high school, think about those 4 years you spent in high school, the growth that you experience as a person, right? The military is kind of like that, but parallel to it. Like, they're on different tracks. And when I look back on the military, my military experience, obviously people say like the cliche things like it's a team, you're going from a team to a team. You're with a group of people striving for the same goal. But the camaraderie that I experienced in football was the same in the military, if not maybe even stronger. Like the friendships that you build from your football years, your teammates and stuff like that, is as strong or maybe even stronger in the military. So it was a smooth transaction.
And one of the questions also from the fans was, there was anything from football that helped you be prepared for the military experience?
Summer workouts, just almost dying out there in the heat, having to run them 110s. You know, in the military, you know, they do what they call smoking you. You know, you're getting smoked, which is like usually for punishment. You got to do a lot of physical exercise. You know, like 500 push-ups in 10 minutes, stuff like that, or sit-ups. You know, like what you see in the movies. But every time we would get smoked, I would always think in my head, those summer workouts were worse than this. So that helped a lot.
Why don't you tell folks what you're doing now?
Right now I live in Fort Walton Beach. I work for a fencing company. So I want to learn to build stuff with my hands. I always felt like because I played sports, I never learned to work with my hands. And I feel like any man, you know, women too, but any man, like, I feel like, and this is no disrespect, I don't want to offend anybody, but like, if you just call yourself like, say man, because I feel like that sounds silly. Anyways, I feel like everybody should know how to work with their hands, you know, and I want to grow that in it, and I want to experience that in my life right now. So my plan is to be a carpenter's apprentice. I want to build houses. I was working on a farm in Alabama while I was after I finished my role on the team. I joined the farm, and I worked on a farm on an organic farm for like 10 months. And so now I want to own a small sustainable farm, and I want to kind of build my own house, maybe like a teeny house, build other structures. Like I want to live off the land pretty much. So.
Well, it kind of sounds like you got a creative streak in there too through that.
Yeah.
And also, you know, tell us, our listeners, people watching this, about your book.
Yeah. We got a book that I wrote with my father. There's more to life than the pursuit of money. And really, you got to read it. You got to read it, you know, because when you tell somebody you're writing a book, they automatically think positively. You know, they automatically think about triumphs and, you know, you talking about the victories you had in life. But especially if you read the forward, you know, when you read the forward, you'll realize that my life has been more struggle than anything else. My adult life has been more pain than anything else. But the beauty of that is that when you're at your lowest is when God picks you up like, yo, you went through this because I'm preparing you for this. You know, I've been molded. And if I would have, and I hate sounding like I'm bashing football, but I'm not. But if I would have stayed in the NFL and had a 10-year career and saved millions of dollars, I can say without a doubt, obviously God only knows, but I feel like I could say without a doubt that I would not be the man I am today if I didn't go through what I've been through, you know. You know, those times that I'm like, dang, I'm such a knucklehead. As soon as I think that now, I'm like, but this is what I learned from that, you know.
Well, and and we've got the book at the museum. You go to bryantmuseumstore.com and order it right now. We can get that to you in just a few days. So if you haven't seen the book, you know, contact the museum again, bryantmuseum.com, and you can order that right now. And Glenn's been a great guy for us to work with. You know, you were honorary captain, was at the museum, did some signing a couple years ago, I think 2 or 3 years ago. So we appreciate that. A couple more questions before we wrap up here today from the fans. Who was your college roommate?
Chris Rogers. I'm laughing because that boy is a character. I love him though.
How many of your teammates are you still in touch with?
Probably about 4. But as soon as I see a lot of them, it's like we never left though, you know. But as far as keeping in touch, I'm not really a phone person. I'm not trying to be on the phone like that. But that's something that I say I want to do better at, is keeping in touch. So.
Yeah. What prompted you to write a book? Was there just like a moment of inspiration, or is it something that kind of grew over time?
It was more my dad. Um, my dad definitely sees the anointing that that Jesus has put on my life, and he's always pushing me to be the best person I can be. Um, the book was more him because he knows I could be quiet at times, you know, and we talk about our mission a lot, you know, and we talk about truly being soldiers on the front lines. And if you say you're a soldier for Christ, then that means you can't just only worry about putting your good foot forward. You got to put all your other foots forward too. And and so the book is just kind of like him just saying, "Yo, there's an anointing on my son. I want y'all to see this anointing." You know.
Well, that's great. And I've met your dad. He's been to the museum, and he is not a quiet guy. He is out
Yeah.
individual. So I'm glad y'all can work together on that. And I appreciate you spending some time with us today. We got Glenn Coffey with us. Be sure and share this conversation with your friends on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Follow the museum. We're shut down during this virus situation. But as soon as we get the all clear, we'll be back open, and we want everybody to come back and see us. Glenn, maybe we can have you back to do a book signing once we get the things up and rolling again.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool.
As we wrap up here today, Glenn, again, we appreciate your time. I want to give you a minute to maybe give folks a little pep talk, you know, as we try to get through this situation. You got some thoughts you want to give people to make it through this?
Yeah. Forgive me if I sound like I'm preaching. But a lot of times we like to judge what's good and what's bad. And if you read the Bible, you'll see that in moments like this, it seems like it's bad, but then it happened because of this, that, and the third. And I think you got to look at this situation like this. People say, was it a man-made virus in the lab in China? Like, it doesn't matter because it still doesn't exist unless God says, I'm gonna let it exist. You know, so I think that's how you have to look at everything, is that God knows what's going on. You're not by yourself. And do a little less of calling things bad and judging things, because you don't know how God looks at it. You know, you don't know how God looks at it. You read the book of Job and you see that firsthand. Like, so.
Glenn Coffey, everybody. We appreciate your time, Glenn. Thanks for being with us today. Thanks for everybody following us out there in the internet lands. Y'all stay with us. And I'll leave you with one last thing here, Glenn. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide, man. Thank you.
Thank you.